everyone. Welcome back to New Comic Book Late Night Live. I'm Captain Logan, and with me, as always, is the Curious Lo.
Hello.
And tonight, Lo and I, as always, are going to count down our favorite books, or our 3 favorite books from last week, and also mention some books that we're excited about coming out this coming week. We were not able to do the show last night because it was the 4th of July, and at the time we would usually do the show, I was stuck in traffic trying to get back home because the fireworks display that we go to every year, it always takes Lo like 45 minutes to get out of the parking lot. And like, because there's like 10,000 people at this corporate park, and we're used to it now because we've gone to the same place like 6 or 7 years in a row or more. But the people we were sitting next to at one point, because they were brand new to it, at one point somehow or other it came up and I mentioned that to them. We were like, "An hour? I don't believe you!" And I was like, "Just wait." And that was kind of funny.
Well, regardless of that, I think it would have been not so fun to do it last night because I don't know about you, but there were fireworks going off everywhere until like very late at night. So we would have had constant like pops in the background.
That would have been fun though. We just, sort of like when airplanes go over your house and you're trying to record, you just stop for a minute. You'd be like, okay.
Yeah. That's the biggest, for those of you that don't know, my hard drive crashed last week. And the biggest thing that I lost on there is all of my raw footage from my Game of Thrones videos of me swearing at airplanes as they fly over and interrupt my recording session. And I was going to make a blooper video and put it on Patreon, and I'm so upset that I can't do that now.
Yeah, weirdly low, fewer fireworks and firecrackers around my house than most years. I was really surprised. Like, I usually hear a lot of it. I heard a couple the night before, but almost nothing last night. It was really weird.
Well, fireworks are illegal here, so naturally they're everywhere.
Yes. They are here too, I'm pretty sure, at least, obviously within the limit. Lo, I love your outfit. And for a moment, I didn't recognize you.
Thanks!
You almost were able to keep your identity secret, but...
Just call me Rocket. Fun fact about Lo, my favorite animal is a raccoon. This is one of 2 Rocket Raccoon shirts that I own.
I love how deadpan you said it. You're just like, fun fact about the Curious Lo. You should start occasionally going into that and just be like, here comes a fun fact. And by fun, I mean not interesting at all.
I do it on Twitter a lot. I'll always be like, fun fact about me, and then like say something random that nobody really cares about.
But it doesn't come with the deadpan sarcasm. So let's go ahead and get started counting down our books from last week. Lo, I don't know about you. I had a really light week last week.
Me too. I'm sure
that
books.
was 4th of July. A lot fewer things published. I only had, I think, 7 last week. And one of them was getting Wonder Woman because I missed Wonder Woman from the previous week. So
gotcha.
Yeah, so I have like 6. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. And Lo, would you like to go first or second?
Sure, I'll go first. That works
right
for me.
Give us your number 3, please.
Woo. My number 3 from last week was Plutona number 5, which is the final, as far as I'm aware. But I also said that Paper Girls had a final, and then you were like, no, Paper Girls is coming back. So what do I know?
I don't know.
But as far as I know, this is the final, at least in this arc, and it was delayed forever and a day. It's been like 3 or 4 months since the last issue came out, but this is a pretty awesome book. It is pretty adult. There is lots of swearing, and it's all children. So to me, it feels authentic because I know my friends always thought we were super cool when we swore, but it's not bleeped out. It's not just symbols. There's also a child that gets stabbed. Like it's a little violent. It's a little intense just before anybody goes out and picks this up. But this was the conclusion of the story arc. It's basically, if you don't know a lot about Plutona, it's about a superhero that has died, and a bunch of children find her in a forest, and sort of how they react to that. And they all react in very different ways. One of them tries to get her blood so that he can get superpowers himself. Some of them want to bury her so that the supervillains don't know that she's dead, because then they'll take over the city because they aren't scared of her anymore. So they at least have to like bury her. So there's always like the promise that she'll come back. Other of them want to tell the authorities. It's all very interesting, pretty dark. It mostly takes place at night in the woods. It feels like it should have all come out in October. Honestly, it's kind of a spooky book, but I quite liked it. It's got a very kind of weird ending, which makes me think maybe there will be a second arc, and I just haven't looked into it far enough because comics are super great at telling you what's happening as far as when things are going to get published. But yeah, super fun book. Not at all. It's kind of depressing, but it's very interesting, and I really liked it. So if you're into sort of some darker stuff, this is a pretty cool read and has some fun things to say about superheroes and what they mean to the people that aren't super.
Yay for Lo picking the indie off the beaten path. Although that one's been pretty popular, but I haven't read it. And as usual, all three of my things will be very mainstream this week. But, you know, every now and again, I jump onto things that are not. You know, Lo, when I was doing the #1 show, I was reading like a bunch more brand new weird off the beaten path stuff. And I really miss doing that. I wish I had the time to read every new book that comes out. I'd like to get back to doing that at some point.
Too much.
Well, for me this week, my #3 is Spider-Man #5, of course, Brian Michael Bendis. And for my money, the one really good Bendis book going on right now. I don't want to be mean to or belittle Bendis, but he's not been on his game as much lately, I think, as he has been as he was a couple of years ago when he started his X-Men and when Daredevil End of Days was happening, et cetera, et cetera. The beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy, but this is very much to the quality of that stuff, I think, for the most part. And I think he's had pretty consistent quality throughout the his Ultimate Spider-Man and into this with Miles Morales. The book can be really slow and kind of stop meander sometimes. We're 5 issues in, and we're still very much in kind of, I want to say, like Origin Part 2 territory with Miles Morales, because of course, really lengthy origin in Ultimate, and then suddenly he has to start over again because he's in the 616 universe now and the Marvel universe proper. And this issue deals on the Miles Morales side. He actually has less panel time in this than he usually does, and Gank takes up a fair amount of this issue, and I'll mention what he does here in a second because that's all really interesting. But Miles Morales has been kidnapped by the Black Cat, who is currently the kingpin of crime, and she and I think a Hammerhead are kind of beating up on Spider-Man just for wearing a Spider-Man costume, and they're kind of taking out their frustrations on the regular Peter Parker Spider-Man because there's this other guy with a Spider-Man costume, and he's kind of easier to kidnap and tie up and beat up, and so that's what they do. And he and it's primarily dealing with the fact that in 616 he doesn't exist, and they're very confused as to why they can't find any information on him whatsoever. So at first they're like, well, maybe because he's a kid, he just doesn't have a record, so we can't find any information on him. But they hired someone that can dig much, much deeper than that, and he's like, no, you don't understand, he doesn't exist at all. And so people are it looks like about to start finding out that he's not from our world at all. And I wonder just how many people are going to start to discover that. That connected with the fact that part of his costume got torn at one point, and there's this girl on YouTube in this who's freaking out about the fact that he's a black guy and making a big deal out of, oh, cool, an ethnic Spider-Man. Makes me kind of wonder if he's not going to get outed sometime in the near future, and if he's not going to have to go through this is my prediction, that maybe he'll have to go through the same thing that Ultimate Peter Parker did when well, actually, he didn't really go through. He died, but and then everybody knew who he was. But I'm wondering if maybe Miles Morales will people will find out that he's Spider-Man, and he'll have to deal with that. And then on the gang side, he's dealing with kind of the fallout from what he did last issue in telling the X-Man Goldballs, my favorite new X-Man. I love that guy. That Miles Morales is Spider-Man. He just kind of let it slip because he was so excited to meet another superhero and because he likes Goldballs a lot. And this is a really fun dynamic that the three of them are going to room together. And so you're going to have 2 superheroes under one dorm roof, and he'll have a superhero confidant, which is really cool. So a lot of nice kind of down to earth drama going on here, and a lot of kind of political government intrigue with S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff relating to his father, and the cliffhanger is about that, and that's all kind of exciting as well. So, still decompressed Bendis, but I'm very much, interested in it going all the way through. Well, what is your number 2?
My number 2, and my top 3 is exactly what I predicted last week, partly because I only had 5 books and there's only so much you can do there. But my number 2 is Silk number 9, which I was excited for different reasons than I ended up liking it. I was excited to see everything that's going on with Silk. Cindy Moon is in a very weird place after Spider-Women crossover, and they actually spent most of this book more focusing on Black Cat, which is interesting because you were just talking about her a little bit. But in this, they spent a lot of time focusing on why she's doing what she's doing and what caused her to sort of try to be good for a while, and now she's just like super being like, you know what, I don't care, I'm just going to be bad because that's what they've labeled me as. It sort of seems like they're setting her up for a redemption arc. I don't know much about the character because, as I say every single week, I'm kind of new to comics and there's only so many times, like so many characters I can research at a time, so I should probably do that. But from my point of view, it seems like they're setting her up for a redemption arc in this title. And some stuff happened at the end with her kind of being found out that Cindy has sort of been a double agent there. I'm interested to see what happens with that, but they did not really delve into everything that happened with Cindy during the Spider-Women crossover. I'm a little disappointed in that, and since they didn't talk about it in this issue, I imagine they won't do a lot with it in the future. It seems like they're just barreling forward with the plot that they had sort of established before the crossover, which I guess makes sense, but it didn't feel like it was totally wrapped up inside the crossover. So we'll see, but I still really enjoyed it, and I'm interested to see everything that's going down with Black Cat going forward. What about you? Number 2.
Yeah, well, real quick before I get into that, a lot of people talking in the comments about Black Cat and Kingpin and how they don't like that. And I haven't liked that either, but that's a thing that's been status quo for quite a while now. Maybe what have we been there for 3 years now, 2 or 3 years? That's something that Slott did, and it seemed like a really random out of character thing where we kind of just made her evil again, or just straight up bad instead of an anti-hero. And there may have been some stuff right before that I didn't read that made it a little bit more fluid, but boy, it sure didn't feel like it back when I was still reading Slott Spider-Man. And she's certainly been written pretty well in that role by other writers, which is why it's not an immediate turnoff to me. But yeah, I mean, I am with folks in the comments. I don't like that she's there. Lo probably doesn't know before this jack for anything about Felicia Hardy, so she's probably totally fine with it. But
I don't have anything to say.
But I'm just saying, like you probably didn't know much about Black Cat prior to.
No, I don't. I know her from this title.
Yeah,
and sort of mentions in other stuff.
That's all I'm saying. She wasn't a straight up mob boss until recently. Just saying, she was a fun anti-hero, kind of like a Catwoman type, which is funny because of course she has a cat motif. Okay, so I'm going to, although not the exact same character, because Catwoman doesn't come from opulence like she does. Okay, I'm gonna talk now about Venom Space Knight number 9. This might be the second time in a row that I've brought up this book in my top 3. Again, really surprising because I was real kind of neutral on it at the beginning, but this is quite good. If you were a big fan of Remender's Venom, this might be a good starting place, or at least pick this issue up because I think you'll appreciate it. And at the very least, it's nice to go back and revisit some of the stuff that Remender did in setting up Flash Thompson as Venom and his characterization. So in this issue, we've got Flash Thompson trapped inside of the Venom symbiote. He's kind of like trapped down in the depths of the symbiote in this big void, and Venom is taking him through this like haunting like quest through his past and spinning it like all of the horrible things that he's done in the past and all of the awfulness of his childhood and all of that is that he's never come past it, that it's all just as bad as it always was, and that he's still the bully and he can't get past that. And this is a character that has come a long way in the last several years, and this issue is kind of all about that and his fighting against this notion that he's just as awful as he was at the beginning of Remender's book. And I really like the contrast with this between where he is at the beginning of this series, because we kind of got away from the from the kind of tortured and conflicted stuff, which I appreciated if we were going anywhere interesting with it, but it just seemed like he wasn't as interesting to read about anymore. Sometimes that's the difficulty with characters growing and changing, where if they figure too much stuff out, they're just not interesting anymore. And sometimes that's when it's time to end a story. But these are, of course, characters that are serialized, but we want to see books come out for week to week, and so we can't really do that. So so what do we do with them instead? And I really liked seeing him kind of learn that lesson and just how far he's come. And it's a really creepy, haunting story. Anytime we go back to his childhood, I kind of get chills when it's done well, and it really is done well here. And then at the end, there's this fascinating cliffhanger with the Venom symbiote that I'm really excited about, that kind of brings us right back to the crazy out there space stuff. And but it's really creepy. So anyway, that was quite good. And now we move on to Lowe's number one.
Nice. All right, so my number one is The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, number 9. I loved this issue. This was so much fun. The more I read of Squirrel Girl, the more she is sort of overtaking Spider-Gwen for me as like just my favorite character. I love her so much. I like how she's just in like ridiculous situations and is always fun and upbeat. This issue was so much fun. She's fighting Mole Man, who I have no idea how popular that character is at all, but he's sort of ridiculous, and it's all bookended by this whole dating scene where she's trying to like go on dates and like hide her secret identity, but she has a squirrel tail, so that's a little difficult. And the guy that she went on a date with didn't believe that superheroes were a thing, and he's sort of a conspiracy theorist, and he had been captured in the previous issue by Mole Man, and this was sort of her saving Mole Man, or saving him from Mole Man, and then Mole Man falling in love with Doreen, and who is Squirrel Girl, if you didn't know, and being like, oh my gosh, I love you. You need to come live with me underground. It'll be great. And Doreen being like, oh, hun, squirrels can't live underground, and like trying to let him down easy. It was just really funny. I loved it. Funny, quirky. It's a girl superhero. It's a me book. We all know. What was your number one?
Well, just real quick, Mole Man is a major Fantastic Four villain and one of the earlier villains, and we're seeing so much. We're seeing so much Fantastic Four lore lately thrown into everybody else's books, because Marvel wants to keep that stuff around but not actually have a Fantastic Four. I don't know where any of the Fantastic Four is right now besides the Thing. Is somebody, one of them was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. I don't know if that's still a thing. And the Thing has been in the Silver Surfer book lately, but it'll be interesting to see how long it takes before Marvel puts the family back together, especially since Fox isn't talking about doing anything with Fantastic Four right now. So since they're not making money on it, maybe Marvel will finally go, oh yeah, Fantastic Four, that's a thing people probably want to see us make comics about. My number one this week is Dark Knight 3, number 5. I really enjoyed this, and once again, I don't want to do too much analysis of it. Well, I have singles anyway, but I don't want to talk too much about this and do too much analysis of this until I get all of it together, because I'm sure a lot of this I will appreciate a great deal more reading it all in one sitting. And these have sometimes been a little late, I think, and so I don't remember everything that's gone on in this book, but this particular issue we have kind of a big showdown between Batman and the Kandorians, of course, the Kryptonians that came from Kandor, and they're this big, scary army that wants to take over the Earth and rule with an iron thumb. But with an iron thumb, wow, I'm tired. And see, this is what happens when you do a midnight show. I'm just going to stick with that, iron thumb. And they're kind of this twisted take on the Superman ideal, where they want to, and their leader, who's a really screwed up crazy person, they want to inspire humans to destroy themselves. And basically, the idea is they say, or the leader guy, he's like, and I forget who exactly he is. His followers have a name for him, and I don't think he's Zod. I think he's someone else. But again, it's been a while since I've read this. But anyway, so he has this idea where he wants to worship them as gods, and he loves the idea that he can incite them to riot and that they would destroy themselves in order to not be destroyed by the Kandorians. And he thinks that's the best thing ever. He thinks that's the greatest way that he can worship them. And he says, we don't want to tell them what to do. We want to inspire them. And he has very much Superman's rhetoric, except what he wants to inspire them to do is the opposite, is to be controlled or to destroy themselves in the name of not being destroyed by the gods. And meanwhile, Batman has this plan to use the riots in order to go up against the Kryptonians, and I won't reveal exactly how he manages to do that, but it's kind of neat, and it's kind of fun to sort of revisit things about the old Dark Knight Batman versus Superman fight, where now he's going up against a whole bunch of Kryptonians, and it's not exactly the same thing. And of course, now he and Superman are working together, and there's a really clear-cut difference between Superman and the rest of these Kryptonians, and that he doesn't see himself as a god. There's this kind of neat exchange between him and Flash, where he starts to say, "Oh my God," and Flash says, "Every time you say that, I want to hold a mirror up to you." And this is a Superman that doesn't see himself as a god, and we see very much the difference between him and the Kryptonians. I also really like this this difference between how they look at the world and how Batman looks at the world. Batman's almost worship of fear in this, I think, is great, where he thinks that fear is the most important thing as a motivator. It's kind of that Batman Begins thing, except he takes it a lot further. And the difference between him and the Kryptonians is that they're not afraid of anything, and that's the reason they're going to lose. The action is really fantastic, and I liked like I said, I liked ultimately what Batman's endgame ended up being. I can't decide if the cliffhanger is preposterously hilarious or awesome or both, but I'll just leave it at that. This has been wonderful, and I hope it reads as interesting and fun altogether as it has in single issues. But I'm surprised by how much I've been liking that, because I wasn't sure that was a thing I wanted or should ever happen. But I've been kind of impressed with it, and I don't know how other people feel about it, but I think it's quite good.
Nice. I haven't read any of the Dark Knight stuff, and I need to, but that's okay. I'll get to it someday. I need to shell out a lot of money for the hardcover.
Well, let's go on now to some other books. And as I said, I don't have very many. Like two. I have two other books, Lo. I thought I had six.
I have three.
Okay.
I think I said five earlier. I have six total. Favorite cover? Should I do that first?
We usually go through the books first, don't we?
Do we? So, okay.
So you, see them and then do whatever.
I'll just shuffle them around, and no one will know which one I was going to hold up for my favorite cover until later. The suspense will grow.
Yeah, go ahead and go through your other books.
Okay, I have Black Panther #3, which I don't think it's a bad book by any stretch of the imagination. I just am not sure that it's for me. I think it's well written. The art is very interesting. I don't know. It's just not grabbing me for whatever reason. I this was a lot of what felt like a lot of exposition. And again, this is somebody who's never read Black Panther before, so maybe that's just why it feels like exposition, because I'm just like, ugh, like there's just so much info being thrown at me. At the end, it had a little bit of a hook, but I don't know how much longer this book will survive on my pull. Again, please don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't like the book. I just don't think it's really for me. I mean, you guys know my sensibilities. I'm all about like happy fun times or like super, super dark times. When you get in this like middle limbo land, I'm like, but nobody's dying, or but nobody's having quirky one-liners. So it's just not grabbing me. I also, and I just picked this up, I'm not even really reading Doctor Who, but there was a really funny, and I posted it on the Facebook, there was a really funny reference to Game Grumps, if any of you guys are aware of that. One of the aliens in one of the panels was wearing a Game Grumps shirt, and that made me really happy. I saw it on Reddit. Just somebody posted it on the Game Grumps subreddit, and I was like, I need to own that issue. So I bought it, and I have no idea what's happening, but I'm really happy that I have it so that I have that little like Game Grumps memorabilia. And then I also got the Spider-Gwen #1 annual, which, if you remember last week.
I missed that.
If you remember last week, Cap taught me all about annuals because I had no idea what they were or how they worked. And now I sort of know what they are and sort of know how they work. So I have now bought my first annual, and it was Spider-Gwen, of course.
How was that?
It was good. It was a lot of, and I don't know if this is normal for annuals because this is my first annual, but it was a lot of just sort of like mini stories. I think there was 1, 2, 3, 4, like little, like 5 little mini stories.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All taking place in the past. A lot of like, there was one that was like really early on about her and She-Hulk, and one about her teaming up with Captain America. But yeah, they were all just kind of little standalone, couple of page long each. Really fun. I mean, this art is always gorgeous. I don't know. I love the art in this book. Also, they just, I don't know. They had Koala Man in here. I don't know if that's a big...
I don't know who that is.
A big supervillain, but it's literally a koala-themed villain who is surrounded by deadly koalas. Kids. And you wonder why I love Spider-Gwen. What about you, Cap?
Well, you reminded me that I very much intended to get the Deadpool Spider-Man book last week because it apparently was kind of a big, and I saw a page of it, and when you mentioned the Doctor Who thing, it made me think of this. I was like, I saw a page of that, I really wanted it, and I had thought about getting that anyway because it was this kind of big satire about superhero movies, and it was the Deadpool in the comics finally gets a movie, and I meant to buy that, so I'll try to get that this week maybe and talk about it if it's still at the shop, because I just forgot all about it. Sometimes when you put things on your pull list and you don't right away notice it in the store, you forget to grab it. This looks like a job for notes, but I also wanted to mention, Lo, that you're not alone in kind of getting lost and not as interested as you were hoping you would be with Black Panther. I didn't read that issue. I've already dropped it, and I may get back on it if people say that it picks up a little bit. But Lo, you're selling yourself too short when you say that it's just because it doesn't tickle your normal sensibilities and there's not enough people getting killed and stuff. Because I'm a big character study guy, and I've been kind of bored with that book. It's not bad. I feel like it's definitely going places, but the characterizations and politics and stuff just haven't grabbed me yet. I feel like there's not enough of it.
I want so bad to like it because I loved him in Civil War, and I guess I just need to go back and read some of the classic stuff that Steve keeps talking about.
Maybe so. I feel like if Steve read it, he'd probably like it a lot. I don't know if he's reading that book. The deal is, I feel like you have to have too much background with that character, and that Ta-Nehisi Coates is maybe getting caught up a little bit too much in the history of that character, because I feel like there's not enough of an anchor, like there's not enough of an eye in for the audience that isn't already familiar with that culture. He's trying, he recaps things in pretty organic ways, I think, but it's just, it feels like such an exotic and almost alien culture that I can't grasp onto it. So like, I feel like it's probably really, really good, and I just don't get it yet. And so anyway, that's why I haven't been reading it. I hate that because I wanted to keep going with that book too. Okay, I'll mention a couple of other things I read this week real quick. We have the finish of Bebop and Rocksteady Destroy Everything, which is one of my favorite comedy comics now that I've read in a really long time. I laugh out loud every few panels with this book. It's so funny. And this is a wonderful follow-up to TMNT's other time travel story, which really wasn't very good at all. So big improvement on that. Love the art in this book. Really good 80s throwback, edgy Ninja Turtle looking stuff. And it's more about the Turtles than it is Bebop and Rocksteady, which was somewhat surprising to me. But then again, if you're going to do 5 issues about a couple of complete morons that don't really have layers to them, that's probably smart in the way to go. But then there's also this kind of charming friendship theme between them that I enjoyed as well. So yeah, I'll do a review on the Comic Vault on this sometime in the near future. And also, I read Ghostbusters International #6, which has an FBI agent that has joined the Ghostbusters, and I think that's pretty great. And she's been in the last few issues, but she got a lot more to do in this issue, and I like her a lot. That's really interesting. And what else do I even want to mention about? Oh, and I like having more stuff for Kaylee to do. She was a character from Extreme Ghostbusters that Burnham is a huge fan of, loves her a lot, and put her in the arc where the Ghostbusters where the main Ghostbusters got sucked into another dimension, and we had a new team of Ghostbusters led by Janine. And I always wished that they had gotten like a spin-off book and had just kept going, because that was as much or more fun to read than the normal Ghostbusters. And now she's back and working with Egon, who has a bum leg because he got hit by a car in the first issue of this series, and he's still limping around and going on adventures. And it's not as great as the last issue, but I still really enjoyed it a lot, mostly for the kind of political comedy that Ghostbusters is, political and business comedy that Ghostbusters is really well known for. Like I said, I also read Wonder Woman #1 finally and liked it quite a bit. Lo talked about this a lot a couple weeks ago, so I'm not going to talk about it except to say that it's a good start, and I'm probably going to keep reading that. And Darth Vader, I'm still like issues and issues behind on, but I'm still buying. This is ending with issue 25, so I will try my darndest to catch up at least by then, if not before issue 22. And Dan and I are going to try to get back together sometime soon and start reviewing the Star Wars comics again, because he's been buying those in trade and hasn't been reading them because we've been planning on reviewing them together. So anyway, all right, now it's time for cover of the week. And what is your favorite cover for this week, Lo?
I got a variant for people that were polling, and it was for Spider-Gwen. And I mentioned how much I always love this art. It's always so, like, I don't know, neon. I think that's really the only way you can describe it. There's just lots of neon. It always sort of feels like vaguely graffiti-esque. I don't know. It's just an interesting art style, and it always really catches my eye. And this is not an exception to that rule. So Spider-Gwen annual #1. Is that how you would say it, or #1 annual?
No, I mean, yeah, annual #1, because you're going to have, if the series keeps going, you'll have more of them.
Huh. Cool.
So, yeah, because they're yearly, because they're annuals. Lo's really hung up on you. She's like, I'm trying to crack the code.
Annuals just like blow my brain. I just don't understand the point of them. They're weird. That's my official statement on the issue.
If I understand it, it's a tradition of magazine publication. So comics have annuals because a lot of magazines have annuals.
Okay.
And because it's a storytelling medium, they have to come up with something different to do in their annuals than magazines usually would. And somebody correct me in the comments, someone correct me inside of a comic book. In the comments if I'm wrong about this, but I think very often magazine annuals will kind of recap a year or something. And of course, if you did that in a comic book, it would be really boring and nobody would want to spend money on it, because it'd be like, well, we just read these 12 issues. Why do I need another book to explain all the stuff that I read? And then every 12 issues, or however often you publish, every annual, you would just have a clip show, and nobody likes clip shows. Lo, my cover of the week, I was not super impressed with any of the covers this week. I guess Bebop and Rocksteady was okay. It's just them on a cover. I didn't realize that Rocksteady had a no turtle symbol on his shoulder. That's kind of fun. He could be like a Ghostbuster for Ninja Turtles. Be like a Ninja Turtle Buster. I guess I'll pick this one, even though that it's a good cover, even though that has nothing to do with the issue. I don't know if this was the main cover or if this was a variant. I don't think it was. But Batman and Superman, spoiler alert, don't fight in this issue because we've been there and done that, and these are characters that have grown and moved on. So yeah, I wasn't super impressed with any of my covers this week, really. Lo, did you put Moon Knight on your list?
Yep.
Because you usually put in Moon Knight. Okay, so Ultron 32 is going to get the code for this week.
Yeah, I had already seen that he said that.
Okay, cool.
And just as a reminder for people who maybe didn't see me say this in the chat, we are no longer taking pre-show guesses for our comics. We mentioned it last week as well, that we were going to do this going forward, just because it's a little unfair that just sort of whoever happens to be looking at YouTube when we post the live stream for the first time will just, can just spam a bunch of issues and hope that they get it. So in the future, not until the show actually starts.
Yeah, because
everybody's on the same page.
Because we've been having people show up like 3 hours ahead of time and doing it, and that's not fair to anybody. So yeah, the rule is the stream's got to be live before you start doing that. So Ultron, you're gonna get a copy of Venom Space Knight because it's great. If you're already reading that, you can have Spider-Man. It's cool. Pick one of those. Okay, let's go ahead and go on now. And after we get done talking about our anticipated books for this week, Lo and I will spend the remainder of the hour taking some questions for open forum at the end. So start noodling those. Don't write them down yet, but think about what you might like to hear us talk about in the vein of comics and superheroes, of course, because that's what we do here on Comic Book Late Night. Lo, I guess I'll go ahead and start just for the sake of variety, and we'll count down like we have been lately, just real quick, 3 to 1. My number 3 this week, and this was tough because next week is a big week. I mean, I've got probably 12 or more. So I'll give you a couple runners up first of things I was kind of interested in or excited about. Batman I didn't put on my official top 3, but I like that issue a lot better than I did the first time when I read it a second time, and I am very excited to hear where they go, especially because Hugo Strange is apparently supposed to be the villain of that arc. So I'm excited about that. I'm a little intrigued by Flintstones. Did you know about this? That DC is doing a Flintstones comic? Is that on your suit? Yeah, I'm a little intrigued by that. I guess DC is really pulling out all the stops with the Hanna-Barbera stuff right now. That's their third Hanna-Barbera book.
The Scooby-Doo one is amazing. I've mentioned it a couple times on here, and I think there are only 2 issues in so far, but I have loved it, so I'm really excited for Flintstones.
Well, and you're reading that big crossover book also, aren't you, with Johnny Quest and all that?
Yes, yeah, I'm reading Future Quest. But that's only had 1 issue so far.
Okay.
It'll have the second issue is coming this week, actually.
My number 3 is Civil War II Kingpin number 1. That's the first of a 4-issue miniseries, and I'm just curious about it because Black Cat, as we were talking about earlier, has been the Kingpin, and I don't know what Wilson Fisk has even been doing, and that cover is a bunch of classic Spider-Man villains, so I'm really curious to see what that ends up being, and I'm not in love with Civil War II yet, and I'm not really excited about that as an event, but every now and again, you'll get tie-ins that are on their own really cool things that don't even have to have all that much to do with what's going on with the main event, where that's just the catalyst to kind of get the ball rolling, and I tend to buy 1 or 2 of the tie-in series to big events because a lot of the time they end up being their own standalone really cool things. And then Paper Girls, of course, because we both ranted and raved about it last time. And then my number 1 is the Sonic Mega Drive one-shot. Really excited about that, the big 25th anniversary Sonic book. It'll be interesting to see if that's oversized or what exactly is in that. But I just posted a review today for Sonic Genesis, which was the 2011 20th anniversary celebration of Sonic, and I loved it immensely. So I'm really excited about that. What are your 3, Lo, and how many of them are mine?
Well, I have 16 coming out next week, so I got you beat.
Good Lord. Well, I have 10 or 12 on my pull, but you know what happens when I walk into the shop. I could walk out with that many.
Yeah. Just a couple, like what you were saying, with some little runner-ups. There's a book called Kim and Kim, which has a #1 coming out this week, and it's from I can't remember what publisher it's from, but it's small because the only thing that they have coming out this week is this book. But it's about, from what I can gather, it's going to be about time traveling cowboy cops that police the time stream, I think. And they're 2 women, which of course I love because I'm all about those girls. Yeah. So it looks very up my alley and super fun. So I'm excited to read that. So that #1 is coming out this week. Future Quest #2 we already mentioned. Everything else is pretty standard for me. So my #3 is Paper Girls #7, which I've had multiple people on Twitter say that they have started reading that and that they're really liking it based on our recommendations, which makes me super happy because I love that book. It's so cool, and I'm just grasping for this next issue. I'm really excited. Flintstones #1 is my #2. I already mentioned that I've been loving Scooby-Doo, and apparently DC Stranded said that it is the same writer as Prez, which is another book that I really loved and have talked about on this show when the trade came out. And loved that book, loved the humor in it. So I'm excited to see what he does with Flintstones because those are such kooky characters. And my #1 is Moon Knight #4. And I just have been loving that book. And we're nearing the end. I think it's only a 5-issue arc, I think. So this is penultimate right here. So I'm excited to see what's going on. I don't know if I want him to be actually crazy, like he's actually making it up, or if I want it all to be real. Like both, if they write it well, which so far this book has been awesome, it's going to be like, I don't know, like it could go one way or the other. And I have a feeling that they would write either ending really well, and it could be very interesting at either ending. So they've kept me guessing. I'm not really sure what's going to happen at the end. So I'm excited to see what's happening there.
They're all going to start off as figments of his imagination that through the power of thought, he's able to accidentally manifest as real people. That's what's going to happen.
I'd be okay with that. I mean, if they did it well, like I said, they've been doing, so far, they've done some stuff that I never would have expected, and they've done it really well. So I'll pretty much take anything Moon Knight gives to me at this point.
Well, like you and I could go out to dinner at a really nice restaurant on the collective sum that we're going to be spending at the comic shop next week.
Yeah.
We could get steak.
All the steak. Just so much steak.
All the steak. We could take both of our families out possibly twice. No, probably not twice, but once. We really could. We are go ahead, by the way, folks, and feel free to start asking questions for the open forum. Lo, I am so stoked. I know we brought this up every other week on the show, but we are all of 5 weeks out now from our trip together. Not our trip together, but me coming to see Lo.
Yeah, it's only for me, not for the con.
That's right. I'm just going to see Lo. Yeah, we're going to be, for anybody that hasn't heard yet, we're going to Power Morphicon. We're going to go to the Power Rangers Con. Lo, have you started binging some Power Rangers? Have you done that yet?
Not yet, but I'm planning on starting this week with my,
Cool.
It's been a little chaotic of a week, but now that my life is sort of back together, I'm going to start getting into that.
Yeah, I
and
now
that Game of Thrones is over, because that was taking up a lot of my brain power to think about that show.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I just gotta get myself back in the mood for it and stuff. So I'll probably go back and do a little bit of that too. But yeah, really excited about it. We're gonna try to go 2 days, Friday and Saturday. And Jason and I are going out to see Lo, and we're gonna go to Disneyland. And we can't wait. We're gonna make videos for you. It'll be great.
Yeah.
We are indeed. Okay, so Lo, help me out if you would, and I'm already seeing quite a few questions, but I'll throw one out, and if you see a good one, if you'll throw one out right after me, so we can rapid fire as many as we can for the remainder of the hour. That dope channel, Cap, will you ever go back and redo some of your shorter rewinds like Spider-Man 2 or Mask of the Phantasm? I imagine you haven't said all you could say on a lot of those shorter eps. Yes, I'd like to. I've done it with one. I went back and did Superman Doomsday a while back, a couple years ago now. Hasn't been that long, while maybe a year and a half. It's been a while, but yeah, there are a number of those, and it's funny because a lot. I'm gonna get in trouble when I say this. A lot of those early ones, even up to Batman Begins, I could go back and do even quite a bit more on. So I've got a laundry list of 4 or 5 that I really want to do at some point. Redo at some point. Ninja Turtles is on that list. Batman '89. I would do maybe, except I've already done 2 commentaries on that, so I don't know if I want to do that. But I may. X2 was on that list, so yeah. There's yes, there are quite a few. Okay. Do you see
I have
questions?
a question. Mostly just because I really want to talk about this.
Yeah.
Green Arrow asked, "Hey Lo, how do you feel about Anna Kendrick being Squirrel Girl?" Which has been something that has sort of been taking the internet by storm. Anna Kendrick mentioned in passing fashion that her brother had sent her a Squirrel Girl comic. She also said she hasn't read it yet, which I have my own opinions about. And she was like, yeah, I would totally want to play that character, even though she hasn't read it. I am not crazy about that casting. I think Anna Kendrick is an amazing actress and could totally pull it off as far as the character goes, but I just don't think she fits my vision of the character. But whatever. It could happen, but it's all speculation at this point. There is no plans for Marvel to make a Squirrel Girl movie, as much as I would love that. It's really just Anna Kendrick saying in passing fashion, hey, that would be a cool character for me to do. Okay, bye. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to Photoshop her into the costume. Which admittedly, the Photoshops are pretty good. But yeah, I don't know. In other Squirrel Girl news, there was a new comic announced that is going to be headed up by Squirrel Girl coming in the fall. It's the U.S. Avengers. It's an America-themed Avengers team. I'm excited for that.
That's kind of funny. They should do the Justice League thing and call it Avengers of America.
Well, the way that it's stylized is USA, all capital with periods, and then cool. Avengers, so USA Avengers.
No, see, that doesn't look stupid.
Yeah. So I'm quite excited about that.
Well, I think Squirrel Girl in the movies is inevitable, which is not a thing I ever thought I would say. But she's gotten really popular. You gotta thank Deadpool for that. I think Deadpool and Guardians both. Deadpool on the comedy side, making everybody want to read really, really super quirky, goofy comics, and then Rocket Raccoon on the rodent side. I think of superheroes. I think is the other person. That you have to kind of in Lo, when I looked at your shirt, it took me a couple minutes because I second guessed myself. I was like, it's Rocket Raccoon. No, wait, maybe it's Squirrel Girl. No, that's got to be Rocket Raccoon.
No, it's pointed ears. It's a raccoon.
Okay. What else? Critic Corner, will there be a superhero rewind on the movie Super by James Gunn? Yes, because it is a superhero movie, so it counts. I at one point I was gonna try to do that before Guardians came out, and it got away from me. I may do that around when Guardians 2 comes out. I don't know yet, but that will happen eventually, most certainly. Ultron 32, are you guys looking forward to ROM? I will give it a shot, most certainly, but I don't know much about that old book, so I'll either do research or not and see how it goes. He also asks, I think the same guy, Critic Corner, commentary podcast on Watchmen or Dark Knight. Yeah, Dark Knight is a matter of me and Steve getting back together with Dan's News, who's been insanely busy the last few months. We haven't been able to get our schedules to line up and get him to work with us. But we really don't want to do the other Nolan movies without him. So whenever he can get with us, that's when we'll do that. Watchmen, most certainly. Don't know who with yet, but of course, that's still one of my favorite things. So I definitely want to do that at some point. Lo, do you see any questions?
I'm looking. Somebody wants to know if you'll ever make a top 11 Sherlock episodes, which I think is funny because I don't think there are 11 Sherlock episodes. I think there's 10.
Yeah, wait, why 11? I know that's a Nostalgia Critic thing. I've done top 10s and top less than 10s when there weren't enough that I felt like 10 made sense, but I've never done 11. I don't think.
I think that might have been the joke, though. Do a top 11.
Oh. Whoosh!
Maybe that counts the, there was, a little mini episode before season 3 that was, 20 seconds long. That could be your 11th.
Lo, we have been getting a lot of requests to do some commentaries on Power Rangers episodes before we go out to the con. I think we should do that if we can find the time to work it in.
Yeah.
You and I need to get our schedules put together because we've got a few commentaries to do. Ghostbusters and Never Ending Story. That one, honestly, we might have to put on the back burner for a while, but we need to get together and figure that out and see which things.
I'm falling into a rut of just like my next Fantasy Rewind will get out eventually. I just have had no time in my life to do anything but make those Game of Thrones videos every week. And even that has caused me to sleep for like 3 hours on Sunday nights because I'll do that and then get up in the morning and work. So it's coming, but that means that we have lots of time to get the commentary out for my first episode because,
and don't feel like
we won't be racing.
I don't feel like it necessarily has to come out before your next rewind either, Lo, because I mean, I've got so many commentaries I've never done, but I know you guys are really wanting to do it that way, and that's awesome if you can. But what else?
Are we real people or CGI? I don't know how to pronounce this person's username. Mom, you're 170. Sure, let's try that. Mom, you're 170. Are we real or CGI? I mean, I'm CGI. I'm a CGI raccoon. If you didn't know.
If that, thought it was sort of obvious, but that's the only way to do it and make it look remotely realistic, Lo.
Yeah, like if you used a real raccoon, I would just look ridiculous.
Yeah, like the only way you can get a person in a person that is a raccoon to look real is to do it in CG.
Yeah, exactly.
Like real person raccoon girls look stupid. Sci-fi fan, I can't breathe. Are you gonna do a comic vault on Batman Noel? I did a short one when it came out. If anybody thinks they want to hear me talk more about that book, I can. It's one of my favorite Batman books. So I might do that at Christmas if people really want to hear me do it. I'm sure I could improve on the one I did 5 years ago.
Let's see.
No, it wasn't Vince. It was me. Unless he's referring to something else. Oh, maybe even something else. Yeah, because now I don't know who we're talking about.
Will Geeks Not Nerds Live be the new norm? And I know the answer to this, but just in case other people want to know, will it, Cap?
It will, Lo. That is the plan now. Yeah.
That's so interesting. Thank you for informing me.
Thanks, CGI raccoon girl.
All in a day's work.
We opted to start doing Geeks Not Nerds Live instead of 0 hours. So 0 hours going the way of the dinosaurs. You already saw today if you've been looking at the channel some new vaults. We're gonna be.
Uh-oh. I think I lost Cap for a second, or you guys lost me. I don't know, but I'll just keep talking. Oh, there's
Hello,
Cap.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Boy, this happens at least once a show now, and it's always on my end. I don't know what's going on. It's great when you're the host and the most unreliable connection. It's fantastic.
It's okay. Anyway, I don't know if you could hear me, but I think I did a good job of just talking about
the entire time. It always happens that way. It's always I can hear you guys, but you can't hear me, and then I have to sit around and wait for. And then whenever I go back and look at the stream again, it's like you on your own, out on a limb, going, "Well, hopefully he comes back." No, what I was saying is, if you were looking at the channel today, you would have noticed that we already had some new logs today. We're going to be tackling news that way again, just whenever any of our contributors have something that they really want to talk about. We're not going to respond to every trailer that comes out. We're not going to respond to every picture or announcement of a person or anything. And you guys, as always, feel free to request things if you want to hear us talk about something, but just know that if we don't have anything to say, we're not going to do a video on it. Those are not there just trying to get people to click on them. We don't want to make a video unless we actually are excited to talk about a thing and have something to say. And that's not to say that I always have a lot of really interesting things to say. I mean, I try. Sometimes I just get really excited about a thing until I talk about it. But that's what we're going to start doing. And part of the reason we're doing Geeks Not Nerds Live, and I thought that format was really good. I was really happy with it. And part of the reason we're doing that too is so that we've got more time during the week when me and the other contributors get together, and some of them without me, to do more reviews and other things. We all have so many projects we want to do together, and GNN kind of gets in the way. So if we make that the live show, and that's the thing we always do on Sunday night, it just really frees up our week. Eric and I are doing DS Babylon 5. I know Steve and Eric have something in the works. Everybody's got projects right now. We just want to make sure that we've all got time to make them. That dope channel. Everybody's asking me about rewinds right now. I know it's not technically a superhero film, but would you possibly do a rewind on Hollywoodland? I've considered it, certainly. There's definitely an obviously good reason to do that. Maybe even on a rewind. I even think eventually I might do Birdman on rewind, just because it would be interesting to tackle a lot of the superhero movie angle with that movie. And it's social commentary about how much that has taken over Hollywood. Lo, that's okay. See, I love it when you make a comment and then I respond to it on the live show. Spelling is one of my weaknesses as well. Accumulator Cap, can I borrow $5? Well, you just don't contribute to Patreon 1 month.
Problem solved.
Thanks, Fag. 4 minutes, Lo.
4 minutes. 4 minutes. Cap, the new Marvel Champions book. Have you heard of it? Any thoughts on it? I don't know what that is. Cap, enlighten me.
I'll have to do. I can't enlighten you. I don't know.
Everybody
panic. It's time to Google things. You should do a commentary on Birdman. That might be fun. Maybe Connor Nielsen would be the guy to do that with.
That is just one of my favorite videos anyone's ever done, was his review of that. It
was really good.
So good. Connor, why are you so talented? I don't think he's here right now, but he was here earlier.
Connor, was he? Cool. Yeah, man. Yeah. That guy, he's one of those who reviews the reviewers contestants that intimidated me the whole contest. I was like, I'm judging you, and I don't feel worthy of it, man.
Don't worry, Nero. Lord of the Rings commentaries will certainly come, but I need to do some other fantasy rewinds before I get to Lord of the Rings, because I want to get my format down and get more in the swing of things and editing, because Lord of the Rings is my favorite fantasy ever. And yeah, it will come, but it probably won't be for like a year or two. Sorry.
Red Leader, you're fine. Red Leader wants to know if I'm going to do a vault on Dark Knight Rises when I do the Dark Knight Rises, on Dark Knight Returns. See, I hate it when you have acronyms that stand for, with letters that could stand for both. When I do the animated movie, and he says, I know it would be daunting. Well, actually doing the movie rewind, I think, would be more daunting, certainly, than the comic vault. But yeah, I don't know if I would coordinate them like that, but that is certainly a thing that I need to do a vault on at some point.
This is something interesting.
Yeah.
How do you keep, and this is from Cole, oh gosh, your last name, Kangawa? I'm so sorry. I just totally butchered that. How do you keep your comic reading hobby reasonably not overexpensive? My answer is I don't. It's very expensive. I spend, depending on how many comics I'm getting in a week, because I don't have any connections with comic book stores or anything like that. I just walk in my local shop, and I typically spend about $20 to $40, but I have had weeks where I have spent almost $100. So yeah, I don't keep it inexpensive.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's not the answer you wanted to hear.
I could give you advice about how to do that, but it always ends up, the answer to that always ends up, have a lot of patience and wait, and don't read week to week, or at least don't buy week to week. And of course, I don't advocate for torrenting and illegal downloading and stuff. So there are ways to get your books like a month or two late and get them a lot cheaper. There are some websites where you can buy books and get them late and then get a big discount on them for waiting. But I mean, I don't do that because I review. I think if if you're a patient person and you don't have to read week to week, or even when trades come out, waiting for trade and then waiting for good discounts on trade, it's kind of exactly the same thing as not buying video games right when they come out, which is what I do. Since I'm since I have other hobbies that take up a lot of my time, when it comes to video games, I'm able to wait 6-8 months, even a year or longer for things that I'm really excited about, just because I have such a backlog in the first place. I have so many things that I have that I've barely touched and played. I don't feel bad when a new game comes out and I don't buy it right away. So like I could see a person doing that with comics. But like, yeah, my answer for myself, Lo, is I don't buy. There are other things I don't buy. I make comics the priority.
I mean, and I do, like, as far as my comics go, you guys have sort of mentioned, like, heard me mention that I, like, dropped a bunch because I was reading almost all Marvel. And then when Rebirth happened, I wanted to make an actual effort to, like, start reading DC, because since I'm newer, I need to get into these characters. I want to have a well-balanced pull list. So instead of just adding more, I dropped some, and it's sort of deciding which books you want to keep and which books you don't. And, being choosy, and if you really must read week to week, sort of deciding what you need to read week to week versus maybe what you can wait for and trade. If it's Marvel books, maybe having a friend who is also getting it. One of you gets the physical copy, one of you gets the
digital.
The digital. That's not something I do, but that could be helpful.
Dan and I used to do that with certain things, stuff that he didn't care to own but still wanted to read. Okay, so I said 4 minutes, and there are like 2 or 3 other things I really want to answer real quick.
Me too.
I'm kind of enjoying all these personal channel questions. Those are fun. Green Arrow, Cap, is that 24? Is that 24 on top of your DVD shelf? No, that's Babylon 5. We've been doing DS9 and Babylon 5. That's Babylon 5 up there.
Somebody, is this supposed to be pronounced David? Because I see you comment all the time, and in my head I pronounce it David.
DVID 22. He's been watching us for years. Yeah, that's what I've always said.
Yeah, I see him all the time, but I don't know how to pronounce it. How come no Dark Horse, Top Cow, or Image comics? I have no idea what Top Cow is, but I do have actually a lot of Image and a couple Dark Horse. It's just since Marvel and DC are sort of the big two, I end up like those are the ones that I go for as far as trying to keep them balanced. It's very easy for me to get into Image comics. I read a lot of Image. They're definitely something that I gravitate towards just because they tend to put out a lot of stuff that I really enjoy. So I don't need to make a concentrated effort to find books from them that I like. And I think I've only had maybe 1 or 2 Dark Horse, but yeah, with the other publishers, I tend to just just go with what looks good, as opposed to with Marvel and DC. I make decisions maybe not necessarily based on just what I'm interested in, but also what I want to be more knowledgeable in, and I'm not at the moment. So I'm reading some characters that maybe I wouldn't naturally, but I want to know more about these characters, especially with new movies coming out.
Most people know this about me. I guess I'll answer that real quick for anybody that doesn't. But for me, the answer to that is Image. Occasionally, when people recommend things that really tickle my fancy. I've always been mainstream guy, and I've always been superhero guy. And for me, even other genres that I love in other mediums tend to not grab me as much in comics sometimes, although that has changed a little bit in the last few years. But I still, by and large, really like to look at superheroes in costumes on a comic book page. That's what I love medium for. But that's not to say that you can't tell any kind of story in a comic and tell it well. And I think I enjoy reviewing science fiction and other sorts of kinds of stories in books more than I like reading them for pleasure, if that makes any sense at all. So if I was...
Oh, no. Okay, he's back. I lost you for a second.
Low.
Okay, yeah. I got you now. I got you. Yeah, it was just for a second.
I think the other thing, too, is... I have not, as much as I'd like to, just because I know I would buy even more than I do now. I've not followed creators as much as I'd tend to follow now that I've gotten into, knowing more about who's making a book and stuff. And Lo, I kind of imagine if you stick with the medium, I kind of see you as being one of those people potentially, where certain authors or artists that you like really well, you might try another thing that they made regardless of what it is that it is.
Oh, I worship at Chris North's altar. I will read anything he writes after Squirrel Girl. Oh my gosh, I adore him so much. Yeah, I've already started to notice, not maybe as many as I will in the future, but there are certain writers that I'm like, oh, they also did this, and I really like that. I'm not at the point where I'm like seeking out stuff just because it was written by somebody that I've read before, but I have started to notice that things I like have been written by the same people.
Last one I want to answer. People are begging us to answer this one from Nero Cole. Most awkward video you've done?
Ooh, I have some privated videos on my channel from way back in the day, because I've been watching YouTube since like day one, like all the way back in like 06, 07. I've always been a huge fan of the medium and like been really into, you know, interacting with creators and all that sort of stuff. And so I always would just randomly decide to do a video here and a video there. And I've done some really stupid, awkward videos when I was still in high school, and they will never see the light of day. I don't care what you give me or pay me or how much you beg, you will not see these videos. But yeah, there's quite a few of them privated on my channel. But yeah, those are all the awkward ones. Like I did one that's, I don't know if any of you guys watch Philip DeFranco, because I was super into him back in the day. Still watch his videos, but like he does like news, and I did one that was news, and that was, ooh, that was bad. It's still on my channel, but it's privated.
I can't wait to see if I can somehow or rather get low. I'll get low drunk and see what happens.
No.
See if I can get low to let me watch her really awkward videos. Lo, there are so many ways I could answer this question. I've done videos that weren't awkward then, but became awkward later. There is, and these are not deleted or privated, so you can watch them if you want. I did a recommend really early on Hush, and then Steve and I reviewed it years later, and I really didn't like that book as far as story goes, at least. And I don't know what I was talking about. There was a recommend once where I said that Infinity Gauntlet came out in the 70s. That's an early 90s book. I don't know what I was thinking. And but the most awkward videos I think that I've been in, it came out this year. It's BVS. The how he felt about most certainly Sad Cat Man. And
Sad Cat Man is one of just, and I didn't even have that much to do with it, but just being there as we all collectively decided that needed to happen, and Steve being like, I'm editing it right now, like I'm uploading it right now, was just so fun. It's so awkward, but it was so much fun to like watch everybody talking about it as we were like, oh my gosh, we need to do this.
Oh yeah, Red Leader. There was a vid I saw deep in the channel that had a robot. I don't know what the heck it was about. It's just a cardboard robot. Yeah, and I never deleted that. That was, I won't go heavily into this, and we need to finish the video. But that was the guy that started Geekvolution in the first place, which used to be a different thing. It was a social network at one time, and he was, and the robot was his mascot for the thing. It started as a thing called My Geek Life. My Geek Life had a tagline called "Join the Geekvolution," and I was blogging for him, and I was an unpaid intern for him, and I was driving traffic to his social network. And he and at one point he finally decided, let's change the title of it from My Geek Life to Geekvolution. And I told him that was the stupidest idea, and that I didn't like that name, and I didn't like that word, and I thought it was really stupid. And now, years later, I commandeered it. He gave me the brand once I started putting videos up and was drawing a following. He was really impressed with what we were doing, Vince and I at the time. And so, long story short, I love it now, but at the time I was like, that is the stupidest name. And yeah, the robot was that guy, Ryan Flanagan. And there's a commercial he made. I don't know if it still exists. If it does, I'll try to put it on social media at some point. I should send Ryan a message and see if I can get my hands on this. I haven't thought about this in years, Lo. There's a commercial we made back in 07 for the social network that was that robot dancing on a DDR pad, and it was me in the robot suit because I was good at DDR and Ryan wasn't. And I got to see if that footage still exists, because there is footage of me dancing on a DDR pad in a robot costume.
Oh, goodness. I'm like looking through all my videos right now. There's a really great video of me, because I've always been super into Let's Plays, just as somebody who plays video games, of me playing BioShock for the first time the day that BioShock 2 came out. But since I had no technology, it's just a camera pointed at my face and no, like, you can't see the video game. It's just me reacting to it. That's great and super awkward.
We are 10 minutes past when we usually end. Thanks for all the questions, guys. It was a lot of fun. And we will see you again next Monday night at midnight for more New Comic Late Night. And in the meantime, thanks a lot for watching. Sure appreciate it. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm a CGI raccoon.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.